You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Welcome into another edition of Inside Automotive right here on the CBT Automotive Network. Scout Motors' decision to bypass Volkswagen stores and sell vehicles directly to consumers, much the way Tesla and Rivian does their products, continues to raise concerns among car dealers nationwide. Both Volkswagen and Porsche and Audi stores, and really every dealer out there, is keeping a close look on this. So joining us now to give us his perspective is Sean Johnson. You've seen him here before on CBT News. He's the general manager of Porsche Brooklyn in New York. So thank you so much, Sean, for taking the time out of your schedule there to join us on the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, for sure. We appreciate it. So you've been in the business since 1998. What's your initial reaction hearing this kind of news coming out of Scout Motors?
Well, it's what I think I foresaw this coming a little bit. And you can tell after COVID, a lot of manufacturers and start promoting like the Carvana way of buying a car, not having to visit a dealership, actually order them online, order the car you want, and direct from factory to home, right? Yeah. But it's going to take some time for, I think, to get to that point. I spoke to some people about Porsche. Porsche's kind of dipping and dabbing in it a little bit, but still, we're not a large manufacturer. So, we have 100, 200 stores, whereas the larger groups have, 500 plus or more points, right? So we still have to have that personal touch on our side of it. People still want to connect with somebody they can call their guy, their gal, their gal. To have that direct connection. That's a little bit more important on our side of it in certain aspects, but it's a situation where I don't know how I feel about it. It could be for myself. I've been in the business for a long time, so I don't know. I'm on the side of it where I'll be more closer to the end than the beginning of it. Yeah. But at the same time, for the folks coming up behind me, I don't know how that's going to work out.
Sure. If a Scout dealership gets put in right across the street or down the block from your store, do you feel as though you're also in competition? I mean, obviously Porsche is a unique vehicle, and I don't know that somebody's going, I might buy a Scout or I might buy a Porsche. They might, though. There might be some models there that they look at and say, I'm one or the other. But how do you feel about competing against your own OEM for that same customer?
That's going to be the interesting part of it, right? Because now today everything's about convenience and time. Living in New York, time is probably something you'll never get back. Yeah. So it can be a challenge, but our dealership specifically, we're unique. It's like a boutique type setting, very personable. It's not your traditional dealership setting. Yeah. That gives us a little bit of advantage over some others. Once they get a chance to visit our location, they get a chance to see how different we really are, because that's the first reaction when they walk in, like, wow, this is a whole different experience. So we try to promote getting people here as much as possible, and we do a lot of events and things like that, something that lives more towards the aspiration of the brand, right? The lifestyle, which you can't promote by doing virtual selling. Right. So that's where we stand out, I think.
Yeah. If they choose, though, to open up galleries the way that Tesla has, and in fact, in some cases, full-blown, dealerships on lots with cars and service and what have you, does that change your viewpoint on this versus a virtual experience?
I think what it does, it makes us to become more focused a little bit more on how to combat that, right? To have a counter to that type of buying experience, because I think there's enough for both. Yeah, there's enough for both, because you got to talk about generationally how people buy cars, right? And then how the new way we do business, we order on Amazon, we order, Uber Eats. Everything's about getting something delivered to your doorstep. But me personally, and being in retail most of my life, I still like that direct connection. There's nothing like it, and people still seek that, right? Especially when things aren't right. Yeah, that's where you need a human touch on it, and that's where we stand out differently from the Teslas of the world and things of that nature. Yeah.
Since COVID, you brought that up earlier, have you had many transactions where the consumer looks at the car online, you communicate with them, they purchase the car online, they do a wire transfer, and then you just ship that car right to them, and they've never stepped foot in your showroom?
Absolutely. That I probably would say out of 10, we may do 3 to 4 transactions like that.
Oh, wow. That many. Okay.
It could be that many sometimes because like we had discussed before, we do being today that you can buy a car anywhere. People look for what they want, especially with Porsche specifically, is that, I found that 911 or that Taycan or something of that matter. I found exactly what I wanted. Or if you order a car and you can do a whole buying experience, we still try to put our personal touch on it, almost like as if they're in a dealership, FaceTime, delivery. We always throw a little gift in there for a customer as well, add a little touch to it. And we still promote that there's nothing different than speaking to someone and actually physically seeing someone. And then we try to also, if they're not in our area, Porsche is a very inclusive brand, even with other dealers. Yeah. You try to set them up with a dealership that if they're closer to, say they're in Maryland.
Warranty work.
So you still try to be that liaison in between to give them that experience so they don't feel like they bought a car from me. Where do I go from here? So we try to help them out with that.
What do you say to that? I mean, just playing the devil's advocate, but what do you say to that consumer out there that says, that's why I drove and I purchased a Tesla, was because the ease and the comfortability of buying the car. I didn't have to go back and forth and shop around and see what was going on in terms of getting the best price.
Right. So it's interesting you say that, right? So remember Saturn used to be that way. Yeah. Saturn was you buy the price, right? They were unique. And that's the difference with Tesla. Tesla is still unique to it. Even though there's more EVs out there, they kind of set that bar where they feel like they don't compete against anyone else. So people go there and saying, okay, I'm not shopping another Tesla dealership because it's going to be the same thing. Yeah. On our end of it, we can't do that because it's called collusion degree, right? We can't go collectively and talk to all the Porsche dealers and say, this is what we're going to sell our cars for. No one's going to get from that. And that's the difference between the two, right? And I'm of the belief, I wish it was that way, not just for the fact that, the MSRP that's on the car, is that all the training that goes into selling these cars, the engineering that Porsche puts into it. I can't tell you how much money I spend sending people away to ambassador training, learning the product between the technicians too. It takes a lot to run a dealership. You have a background in that. It's very expensive, right? Right. And during COVID, we experienced that where people didn't negotiate as much. You try to give them they found the car they want, they bought it. It was simple, it was easy. And it should be that way, but it's just the old adage that, there's always one more dollar I can save, right? Somebody else is going to give me a better price. If you commit too soon, I could have went somewhere else, and that's the thing that if people need to, I wish the consumer themselves, and we're consumers as well, is that you don't understand the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations that the sales staff goes through. That's why there's a lot of turnover in the business still to this day. It was kind of smoothed out during COVID because everyone was making money. But when it's traditional, it's a lot of commitment. There's a lot of, disappointments. And, you figure you got a deal and then someone says, oh, I found something for a little cheaper. You're like, oh. And it can be pennies comparatively based on the MSRP of the car, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but Tesla has that uniqueness. They still have that exclusiveness based on what they sell. They're not competing against hardly anyone else but themselves. And they can't go to another Tesla dealership and buy for any less. Yeah. That's the difference between the two.
That's right. In your opinion, could this decision by Scout Motors be the beginning of a larger industry trend? Do you think we could see other legacy companies going in this direction, or at least trying to go in this direction?
I'm pretty certain, the car business could be a copycat business. Yeah. Like many things, like the NFL, once an offense works a certain way, like the San Francisco 49ers offense, everyone adopted that, right? Yeah. And it's the same with the car business. If it's, let one of us or one store see profits go up or success rates go up, then you'll start to see the copycat formula of that as well. Yeah. But there's obviously still some pushback because of what's, it's traditional still to a degree, the way the car business is. It's like I said, there's a lot of money spent into the brick and mortar side of it, building these places. I just came from a grand opening of a competitor, and they built a mausoleum. They built a palace.
I've seen the new Porsche stores. I've been in them. They are unbelievable. I mean,
unbelievable.
It looks like something that, I don't know what it looks like. I can't compare it to anything, but it is, the showrooms I think are like 4 stories tall inside. It's just unbelievable.
They're huge, right? And our store is a little bit, like I said, very boutique-ish. I think this is more where we're at because we're unique. We're in a very urban area,
right?
And you only can go but so far up or down, right? As far as the expansion. So they made it very quaint, very inviting type of, and it isn't as expensive to maintain and promote that type of, square footage. So that's what we try to take advantage of. And that's where I think as we continue to grow on this side of it, just speaking for our store specifically at Porsche Brooklyn, that's where we have so much opportunity to continue to grow and even capture and keep up with whatever the latest trends are.
Right.
Because people do like coming here once they come here. And the larger dealerships, I got to raise the eyebrow about it a little bit. Like that huge investment based on the fact that as the generations get younger, they don't like sitting in a place unless you offer things that are not car-like things, like almost like a Starbucks type of experience. That's what they're looking for. I can get on my laptop and work. We have that.
That's right.
Where it's a little bit more inviting.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah. Hey, switching gears a little bit, how is your business as you close out 2024? And then the follow-up question is going to be, how do you feel about 2025?
So we had a little bit of a lull this year as interest rates were higher, the election, you name it.
Yeah.
And then this past month, we had a decent month last month. This month is trending on an upward trajectory. I've been in the business almost 26 years, and I've seen the trends, and I've kind of experienced almost all of them minus COVID, which was an anomaly, which was crazy. I feel like it's percolating in the right direction for us. We should close the year pretty strong. And new and used car sales, our service department's growing. And I think our 25 is going to be even better because we'll hit that third-year cycle. Where in Porsche, between 3 and 5 years, even for a sales consultant, if you maintain the course, you start to see that residual effect of business and people start back to you. So I have a very great positive outlook of how we're finishing the year and starting 2025.
That's great. What percentage of your business, if you don't mind me asking, is our leases?
So I think we're at almost 50% of our cars are leased now, which is pretty strong. Huh. Yes. The Macan and the Cayenne are our most leased vehicles. And I promote it very heavily. Anyone who does look for a vehicle, and that's our motto here, is that it's just creates so many more opportunities with Porsche clients. It's not punitive in certain instances, like some other brands where you can't trade your car somewhere else, so on and so forth. Porsche doesn't have those restrictions. Yeah. But it gives the client way more choices. The cars are getting very expensive.
Oh, I know.
So it's more expensive. So take advantage of what you can and keep yourself in a new car trend within every 2 to 3 years. And you can keep up as opposed to dropping, how much these cars are, $150,000, $200,000, especially on the sports cars. It's insane.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's out of my ballpark, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Sean Johnson, General Manager of Porsche Brooklyn. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you giving us your opinion on the things that are happening with Scout. I know there's a lot of dealers that are watching this, both, as I said, Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche, as well as the rest of the industry, because I think it's one of those uncomfortable positions to just think, what's going on here? Why are they bypassing franchise dealers? But we'll see what happens here. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.